like such a good question. There we go.
Good morning. Whew. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We are grateful to gather on this beautiful morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. Whether you join us today with joy in your heart, weighted with burdens, or searching for meaningful connections, we are glad that you are here. As we begin our service, we pause to remember that each of us is sustained by the land where we make our homes and our livelihoods, land that was once dominated by tall grass prairie. We remember that for centuries before colonization, Native people lived in interdependence with this land that we call home. We give thanks particularly to the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, and the Meskwaki. and the Osheti Sioux Nations for their continued stewardship as we seek to live more sustainably with this land. I'm Brenda Lindley, a member of UUSIC and a worship associate, and my pronouns are she, they. I am a middle-aged, under-tall woman with a soft round belly, brown to graying hair that falls down past my shoulders, glasses, light skin, and I think quite dapper attire. Our sanctuary is filled with people of all ages. Through the window and the walls of our sanctuary, we connect to the outdoors where it is sunny and beautiful. As Unitarian Universalists, love is the core of our covenantal faith. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, and health statuses, we gather as a radically welcoming spiritual community. During our service, we draw inspiration and meaning from thoughtful people of the past and the present and use sources as diverse as poetry, nature, science, and personal experience. We covenant together to affirm and promote 7 principles, which we hold as strong values and moral guides. This congregation has endorsed the adoption of an 8th principle which calls us to be committed to active anti-racism. This morning we will ask complicated questions together. No answers in our wide and wonderful diversity. Answers will be numerous, varied, and deeply personal. Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher who asserted that the world is not a rational place, interestingly said, "A sense of humor is the only divine quality." We will celebrate and explore the divine in it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the humorous. If you're newer to our community, we invite you to learn more about Unitarian Universalism in this congregation after the service. For those here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. For those online, there is a link to a visitor form in the YouTube notes that will let us connect with you. If you need to use an app or device to help you engage with this worship service, feel free to connect to the UUS Wi-Fi. We ask everyone else to make sure you're not connected to the UUS Wi-Fi during the service.
Good morning. My name is Jenna Supp-Montgomerie. I'm a member of this congregation and a worship associate. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a white woman of average height, about 45 years old, and as we flirt with spring, I'm wearing 2 sweaters this morning. This morning, let's be wide in our embrace of who we are and what we bring. It's not all good, of course. We all have faults. We all have parts of ourselves we wish we could grow out of. We all bear wounds. But it is what makes us up, each of us and all of us. How can we be fully present if we are trying to get through the door by leaving parts of ourselves out in the cold? These doors are wide. So welcome, all of you, all of me, in the faulty, awesome, broken glory that we are.
It's too fast. Good morning. I'm Alex Heatland. I'm the music director. I'm sitting at the piano today, whether you like that or not. And you might notice that the choir is set up a little differently. We're trying something new today. Very exciting, very exciting. This first hymn we have today is written, the words are by a Christian monk who was a mystic, who, similarly to what Jenna was just saying, kind of saw the divine in everything that existed around, and this kind of mystical nature of nature. So, I'll invite you to rise in body and spirit as we sing together number 89. I think the words will be on the screen here, yes. Come my way, my truth, my life.
As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety, to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words as Ari and Lena Schmitz light our chalice. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week, we light a candle for justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. We light this candle so that we may not be numbed to injustice and trauma, but rather find strength, courage, and love as we work in solidarity with others for liberation, justice, and healing. Together, we create resilience and hope. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of a proposed bill in the Iowa legislature intended to prevent transgender kids from receiving the medical care they need. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Kaplan. I'm the Grateful Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUS. My pronouns are they, them. I am a shorter or less tall, non-binary person. My usually braided hair, curly and gray, is down over the one side of my head today. Our time for all ages today is called All of Us. Time for all ages, all of us. So whether you are here in the sanctuary at UUS today or at home, I invite you to participate fully in this activity that we're about to do together. You should have gotten a bundle, so everyone should have 3 pipe cleaners, craft pipe cleaners, as you came in today. If you didn't get any, or if you'd prefer to use crayons, colored pencils, markers, and a piece of paper. That's an option too. If you're at home and you didn't get a bundle of pipe cleaners, yarn, drawing utensils that are different colors, any of these craft supplies will work for this activity. Our lovely ushers are helping out getting pipe cleaners to those in the sanctuary who didn't get them. So if you, great, just raise your hand and they will be around to you. Oh, we've got another one here in the back and up front who don't have them. Oh, it looks like we have a nice full room today. It looks like some people might need to use colored pencils or markers, crayons. Those are around the room as well. So if you need writing utensils, if that would work for you, please engage in this in whatever way that you can. I invite you to take one of your colors, whatever the supply it is, take one of your colors and think of it as your outer person. What is it that people can observe of you, or that you observe if you're looking in a mirror, or as you were getting ready today? Go ahead and choose one of your colors. It doesn't have to be the same as me. Choose one of your colors, and this is your outer self. Pour all of your outside self into that one color. So it might be the clothes that you chose today. It might be how you choose to style your hair, or how you've adorned your body in whatever way that may be. Next, choose one of your other colors that isn't assigned to your outer self, and I want this to be your mind. So in that next one, pour all your thoughts today, things that have been on your mind this morning, maybe as you were running out the door a little bit later than usual, maybe as you chose your breakfast and you're disappointed that you didn't choose something different. Maybe it's a test that you have coming up this week. Maybe it's something going on in your life that's just weighing on your mind. That's your next color. Your third color, I want it to be the things in your heart. Things that you love, things that affect you deeply. Pour all of those emotions, all of that love into your third color, and create something with your three colors. You can braid them together. You can draw an image. You can just ball them up. It doesn't matter, but make a creation with your three colors however you want. Twist them together. And remember, try and keep track. Which one is your outer self? Which one is your mind? What's your heart? What are those things that you love that you're pouring into this creation? And I'll give you a moment. I'm going to keep talking, but please keep creating. So I pulled that orange one first, so that might be the red polo that I picked out today. It might be the fact that for a change I'm wearing my hair down and in my face instead of tying it up. My shoulder was a little sore this morning, didn't feel like braiding. Those are my outer self things that I've poured into my orange pipe cleaner. On my mind might be the words that I'm saying to you right now, the book that we're going to read in RE class, all the things that are going to be going on today after service, the food I need to feed youth group and the OWL class, these are on my mind. The things in my heart, all of you, my family, the beautiful, beautiful nature that we have here, the legislation, all of these things have gone into my creation. Look around, or if you're at home, look at your creation. It might be the same colors as someone nearby you. You might be doing the same type of thing with your creation. Maybe you're braiding something and somebody nearby you is also braiding. There are things between each of us that are the same. And there are lots of differences as you look from creation to creation. What if we were to consider every single one of these creations, and therefore all of us miraculous, divine? Feel free to keep creating, but I am going to invite any children or youth who would like to come to our RE spaces to come grab an egg shaker from next to Alex and join me on our way to RE.
I did put a basket in the RE wing. It says eggs. So you can put them in there if you like.
Did you want an egg shaker?
Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibility. Aye, 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 aye. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open for the possibility. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibilities. Aye, 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 aye,
Nice. As we enter into our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, we acknowledge the joys and sorrows of our congregation. We do this by dropping stones into a bowl of water, symbolically immersing our personal joys and sorrows into the flow of all of life's joys and sorrows. The water surrounds and holds the stone just as we are surrounded and held by the love and support of this congregation. If you're participating in the service elsewhere, you may wish to meditatively hold a stone, wash your hands, or meditate on an object near you. And now, if you're in the sanctuary, please come forward, take a stone from the basket, and place your stone in the water as we sing.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe in, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
We are so fragile, and yet we breathe. We need so much, and yet there is breath to sustain us. Know that you are held by love. We do not need to earn it. Our troubles are not too heavy for it. There is room in this love for all our worries, our joys, our wounds, our hopes. And the great gift is this: fragile and in need of love, we have love to give to each other, to the whole of this wide and wild world. Amen, and blessed be.
This is a reading from Ethics by Baruch Spinoza. In 1656, the Jewish philosopher Baruch Spinoza was issued the harshest excommunication ever pronounced by the Sephardic community of Amsterdam. It was never rescinded. His abominable heresies were some revolutionary ideas about God. He got more rebellious in the decades that followed and wrote a short phrase that radically threatened the foundations of Judaism and Christianity. The eternal and infinite being we call God, or nature. This is On Traveling to Beautiful Places by Mary Oliver. Every day I'm still looking for God, and I'm still finding him everywhere. In the dust, in the flower beds, certainly in the oceans, in the islands that lay in the distance, continents of ice, countries of sand, each with its own set of creatures. And God, by whatever name, how perfect to be aboard a ship with maybe 100 years still in my pocket. But it's late for all of us, and in truth, the only ship there is the ship we are all on, burning the world as we go.
As an ex-Presbyterian, I'm always a little nervous here that my theist slip is showing. I carry a commitment to God. Maybe even something like a turbulent relationship to God. But if I'm perfectly honest, I have a rather weak faith in anything that might be recognizable as a deity. My feminism refuses a mighty man in the sky. My queerness refuses a straightforward goddess if she is the embodiment of feminine virtues. And I cannot look around at a world this broken, a world in which queer and trans people have to fight for the most basic forms of equality every day, a world in which something like 660 million people live in extreme poverty, a world in which we could be brought to our knees by a virus 1/10 of a micron in size. I cannot look around at a world this broken and believe that we are overseen by an all-knowing being of kindness and love who has a plan. For those of us UUs who've left other religious communities precisely because of the kind of damage that such overseeing beings can wreak on vulnerable lives, maybe it's the healthier decision to walk away from deities and all their trouble. But if I am perfectly honest, there is a love in me I can only understand as a love for something like God. There's something else, something more, something deeper, something sacred. And so, like many of you, I'm on a journey of imagining things otherwise, getting creative, hopefully a little subversive, just a titch. Enjoying the freedom of our non-Orthodox religion in a community of diverse beliefs. For me, this feeling is no time for father gods, probably not mother gods, really any kind of greatness that distracts from the mundane glory of a thin pink winter sunset, or the incomprehensible faith of those pale green shoots fighting their way up through the frigid earth, or in Mary Oliver's litany, the oceans, the flower beds, the dust. Just this moment of quiet. That cup of coffee, your smile, the stumbling attempts at justice. When my faith in the grand falters, it is the tiny that restores. But how could the tiny be divine? And how would I know which tiny thing counts as sacred? That cup of coffee was everything at 7 this morning, but it was also part of a destructive system of monocrop agriculture and exploitative labor and global shipping. The pink of that sunset was fleeting. Those attempts at justice helped, but also hurt. Do I call these holy? And what does calling them holy even do? Does it help anything besides offering a kind of weak answer to this feeling that might be God love lodged in my chest? Perhaps you can relate to these confusions of judgment. We have, as our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And as our seventh, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are part. These make intuitive sense to me. Of course, we are lodged here, small parts of a wide web, each of us meaningful to the whole. And that whole, with all its wild interconnections and fragmentations, is magnificent. But when I get down to brass tacks, I will confess that sometimes it is a challenge for me to see the worth and dignity of every person, let alone hold respect for all existence. That guy? That virus? And if I'm really clear-headed, that us? Fragile us whose ship of humankind is burning the world as we go? The theme this month is vulnerability. And I would say that is a fair way to name how I feel most of the time these days. I will admit it is in heated competition with exhaustion, anxiety, maybe occasionally panic, sometimes grief, let's not forget rage. But what are those things but manifestations of vulnerability? They are the feelings of being beholden to this ailing planet, of being responsible for so much harm, of being helplessly tumbled about by all sorts of things well beyond our control. When I really let myself feel the vertigo of our true vulnerability, I worry that giving up on the great gods of Western mythologies or the idea of a progressive, evolving universe makes us floating specks in a turbulent sea. To relinquish the idea of some wise something or some grand force steering this crazy ship is to be vulnerable in the extreme. But that's what we are. Today, I thought we might wrestle with the big questions of our vulnerability by looking at the tiny. Specifically, the very tiny guests that we all brought in with us. Maybe these are surprise guests to you. They were to me. The human body carries trillions of microorganisms, of thousands of different species. For every one cell of our own self, there are 10 microorganisms. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, parasites. There are bacteria on our skin, on our eyes, in our guts. Some of this bacteria protects us from disease, digests our food, produces vitamins, and some of it causes illness, itchy skin, smelly feet. I mean, not for me, but maybe. About 1 to 6 pounds of each of us is bacteria. Now, when I think of who I am, I don't normally think of my teeming bacteria. I don't identify with the lacnospiraceae that determines my body temperature, or the Prevotella and Ruminococcus of my digestive tract. When someone asks me who I am, I do not introduce the Peptostreptococcus, Bifidobacterium, and Lactobacillus that populate my colon, and yet I am here because of them. I am me because of them. Who am I, if not this diverse biome? A diversity I'm not in charge of. A diversity so rich I can hardly comprehend it, to be given life all the time, every day, by organisms I can barely pronounce. Could there be something holy about that? Could I call them holy, knowing these same bacteria harm, kill? And if these are what make me up, how wide might the wild world of tiny things be that make up God? The idea that God and the world are the very same thing is formally called pantheism. Pan for all, theism for God. It's an old idea. It appears in various forms in many indigenous cosmologies, especially those in which there is no God in charge, but rather a sense that everything has inherent value. It crops up in varieties of Judaism, Christianity, paganism. It's not that God's spirit imbues nature like a tree spirit or a streptococcus spirit. It's not that God made the world. It's not even that the world resides within God like a fetus floating in a divine womb. Pantheism is the idea that all this composes God. Every tree, every winter sunset, every person, every lactobacillus, every chair, every light bulb, every coronavirus, every gun, everything is God. Perhaps you can see why Baruch Spinoza got into trouble when he suggested that God and nature were identical. Spinoza was born in 1632 to a family well known in their Portuguese Jewish community in Amsterdam. He was smart. He studied well in his congregation's Talmud Torah school. And when he was 23, his congregation excommunicated him with the harshest ban in their history before or since. He was expelled in body from the synagogue and then cursed up, down, and sideways, quite literally. Cursed be he by day and by night. Cursed be he when he lieth down and when he riseth up. Cursed be he when he goeth out, and cursed be he when he cometh in, and so on. His abominable crime, he suggested that God has a body, the body of the world. The idea that God has a body could be composed of matter upsets the foundations of our main monotheistic religions. It limits God's power because bodies are weak, susceptible, smell, die. It situates God in the unpredictable here and now rather than above it all. God can no longer be the man with the plan, that wise creator who made us but is not us. In other words, in pantheism, we become outrageously vulnerable to whatever worlds we help build. No superhero is waiting in the wings to save us from the ways we so inevitably mess up. And it makes God outrageously vulnerable, an unfolding universe that is determined by all of the diversity that makes up this wide divinity. God is made up of us, the big us, you and me, our lactobacilli, our flaws, our pollution, the deer, the ticks, the trees, the mold, the good, the bad, the ugly. Mary Jane Rubenstein, a professor of religion, gender, women's sexuality studies at Wesleyan University, has written, I brought it to crib off of, a beautiful, audacious book called Pantheologies, Gods, Worlds, Monsters. It started when she tried to trace the history of pantheism and found there was not much pantheistic writing. And there was a lot of writing about pantheism, specifically how terrible it is. The curses that Spinoza suffered pale in comparison. Critics of pantheism accuse it of being atheist. If we call Ruminococcus divine, are we not just attributing holiness to anything and everything, a willy-nilly God? Is this good, bad, and ugly any God at all? And critics of pantheism say there's too much God. By calling all of this rich world divine, I might be subsuming it into a name so powerful I erase this awesome biodiversity. One writer called Spinoza God intoxicated. Pantheism, these critics say, makes the world into an inconsequential expression of the grand power I was trying to escape. Theists and atheists disagree on a lot, but for the last few millennia, they have agreed that pantheism is a really bad idea. So today, I run the risk of offending everybody. But I love a renegade, and so Spinoza's and Rubenstein's daring calls to me. In my moments of deepest despair about the destruction we humans seem to so regularly make, and the destruction we are so susceptible to, the idea of being in the great roiling unfolding of all that is, of being the unfolding of God, does not offer a sense that all will be well. No guarantees, this theology. It does not offer a way to clarify what is good and what is bad, and clarity around that feels like it might help right about now. But it does offer a deep intimacy with the web of all existence, from the glory of the stars to the unsung miracle of the lactobacillus. It offers a gentle, if uncomfortably wide embrace of all that we are. And it urges us to a deep responsibility for the divine unfolding we are shaping and caught up in. The biggest problems with pantheism are first, one has to let go of the idea that God is good. If everything is God, we don't get to pick and choose the parts that are divine. We don't get to include the bacteria that let us digest and exile the bacteria that cause strep throat. We don't get to honor the parts of ourselves that we're proud of and quietly usher our faults or our wounds out of sight. To keep the temperature regulation and lose the smelly feet. In pantheism, even stinky feet are God. God is that which is, not that which we like. And second, in pantheism, there's no great guy in the sky directing traffic. And we are not solely in charge of the diverse divinity that emerges in his place. The lactobacilli contribute as they will, and so do the people whose politics crush my hope to ash. Even my own complicated actions in the world, meant for good, but inevitably causing harm, shape the divinity that is. It's daunting. Even the great guy in the sky had his limits. In pantheism, everything counts. But isn't that the hefty weight of the world we encounter? That we are responsible for each other, that our actions matter, but never fully control what comes next, that we are at the mercy of all the rest of us, not just the ones with whom we agree, that we owe our lives to bacteria, that we are absolutely vulnerable to this fragile, fragmented, outrageously beautiful world, that this unfolding world we know in the intimacy of our digestive tracts holds multiplicities of surprises. And so maybe pantheism might offer also some hope. We are not alone. We are a great, teeming diversity, unfolding strength, love, courage, vulnerability. As Rubinstein puts it, pantheologically, those events we call gods would be discovered, sustained, killed off, resurrected, multiplied, would frighten and delight us, save us and ruin us with visions of the worlds and gods we've made and glimpses of those that might yet emerge from our multi-species midst. Perhaps calling all of this holy does nothing more than call us to deepen our sense of belonging to it and our responsibility for it. Perhaps naming this God simply shines a bright light on our sense of interdependence with the wild, diverse, unexpected everything. But that is holy enough for me. That is a holy I indeed can love.
How we give, what we do with our lives, our time, our resources, is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is the Free Medical Clinic. The Free Medical Clinic operates from a belief that access to affordable health care is a basic human necessity. They provide medical and dental services to Iowa City and surrounding communities for folks who would otherwise not have access to care. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner agency. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute toward your pledge to our society or contribute to the congregation to provide additional support for our operating expenses. You may also contribute by check using the memo line to designate the purpose, or you may give electronically by following the link shown on the screen or through Realm. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all who join with us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
Draw the circle, draw
May what has been shared today help us more fully affirm our interconnection and live into love and justice. Immediately after the service, we will have time for all to join in conversation and community. If you're online, a link to our Zoom coffee hour rooms is being dropped into the chat. If you're in person, we gather in the fellowship hall for conversation. Our discussion questions, which you may want to chat about during coffee hour. What are some things you might do or do differently if you considered everything to be divine? How would you contribute to this unfolding of holiness? And now, to close our service, we will sing Wo Ya Ya. Alex.
I hope you'll get into this one, yeah? All right. This is your turn to draw the circle wide sort of style stuff. So I invite you to rise in body and spirit as we sing together, Wo Ya Ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh
Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
Our worship does not end now, it begins. Let us take our places in the web of all existence, and let us shape that world toward love, toward justice. Let us be the work of hope.
I teach leadership classes at the university, and several years ago I decided I wanted my own, and that's all there is, Walter Cronkite. And so I found this phrase, go forth and do good things. And when it's time for class to end, I say that to my students, and they know, and I know that it's time to go. That way they don't start packing up their things before. Anyway, I wrote this with that in mind, and Alex and the choir are kind enough to join me, so I will sing it through once, and then we will invite you to sing along. So thank you for sharing this with me.
Maybe if we put up the next slide with the words on it, I think. Yeah.
Go forth and do good things. Build a world of your imagining. Spread love everywhere you go. Be kind to everyone you know. Go forth, go forth, go forth and do good things.
Go forth and do good things. Build a world of your imagining. Spread love everywhere you go. Be kind to everyone you know. Go forth.